We host the Hedera Hashgraph Meetup for the local region the first Monday of every month. This is a meetup group of people that are enthusiastic about blockchain and crypto, specifically the Hedera Hashgraph platform. Through our online programs that we've been running during COVID, we've interviewed everyone from the founders to some of the most influential people in the space, and we look forward to bringing those talks back into our space and hosting them here at the Creative Coast.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the February edition of Hedera Savannah Meetup, hosted by myself, Jeremy Fletcher of Ledgerama, the creators of Walla Wallet, and hosted primarily by the Creative Coast of Savannah, Georgia. Creative Coast is an organization, nonprofit organization that was established here in the coastal area of Georgia, Savannah, Pooler, Brunswick, the surrounding areas, to encourage and entrepreneurs and establish kind of a communication basis for entrepreneurs and startup types in the Savannah area. Their tagline is create, code, and collide. And they've been really supportive of Ledgerama and our efforts ever since the very beginning. So in 2018, after I competed in the Hedera 18 hackathon in Dallas, I presented to a group at the Creative Coast, and Jen Bonet, the director of Creative Coast, kind of pulled me aside and said, "We should talk. This sounds really cool." And it's been a good conversation ever since then. So her and Caitlin Lance do a lot for the entrepreneurs and startups here in the Savannah area. We are very grateful for the work that they do. So I always like to show our support for them. I'll let some other folks in here that are coming in. All right. And Mr. Thomas, good to see him. Haven't seen him in a while. So at any rate, we are pleased to be joined this month by Peter Uliano and also by Mark Lombardi. Very grateful to have both of you on. We haven't done these, and we had our big HBAR holiday party in December, and that was a lot of fun. Had a ton of people. Even was able to get a hold of Lehman Baird for a few minutes, and had a little special guest appearance with him. Talked a little bit about an initiative and group that I'm a part of called the HBAR Foundry. That's essentially a group that gets together to set standards and discuss and come up with creative solutions within the HBAR ecosystem and Hashgraph ecosystem. We've been doing that for quite a while too. And we'll let in old Dell. Good to see you, Dell. Welcome. All right, so so Peter, it's been 2021 was another interesting year, big year, some big changes. So for the folks out there, I'm sure you all recognize Peter Uliano as a former CMO of GoMint. There's been a little bit of a changing of the guard over at GoMint. There was some different directions happening over there, and so Peter Uliano has moved on and is branched out, and is now his latest venture is in HBAR.news. And Peter as the as the longstanding face and public-facing PR relations, the CMO for GoMint. He's definitely the guy that we all recognize. So really happy to support Peter and his efforts going forward as we move on into the hello future that I think that we're all pretty excited about. So Peter, thanks again for joining us. This is definitely a pleasure to have you. Like I said, we've talked a little bit before, but what you have done in this space it's difficult to do what you've done. Right. The project GoMint was just a little a proof of concept, right? Just a little proof of concept for NFTs in the Hedera space, and and under your leadership, really did fantastic things. Really had the entire Hedera space and HBAR ecosystem kind of wrapped around your finger. To put it in a friendly way. I mean, I know that's maybe a little bit of hyperbole, but really, I mean, there was so much excitement about what was happening there. And you did that. Of course, it takes a team to make things happen. But as far as the HBAR world sees it, you were making it happen. And I was mentioning this too. I don't know anybody else in the space other than Manson Lehman that has had a fan-based NFT made after them. And the NFT is almost of a religious nature. It's really pretty funny. And tongue in cheek, I understand, but it's hilarious. I love the NFT. It's cool. I have to admit, I am quite envious that I don't have my own NFT. So maybe one of these days I'll get lucky and have one of those those kind souled, generous artists out there do me a solid and create my own NFT, because I'm very jealous. But at any rate, it's a pleasure to have you. And yeah, so HBAR.news. Man, I was looking at HBAR.news. Hey, Rob. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, so yeah, Rob Keynes, my talented and dedicated business partner, the CTO over at Ledgerama and lead developer on Walla Wallet. Thanks for joining, Rob. Yeah, so I was taking a look at, so over the past week or so, I've been digging into HBAR.news, and I am really impressed just by the sheer volume of news that you're putting out. So one of the things that well, first off, before I get into all that kind of stuff, I'm being remiss here. Peter, if you would just introduce yourself, maybe say a little bit about how you got into the HBAR space in the beginning. I always like to ask people, like, how did you get into HBAR in the beginning, right? Because it's kind of a niche technology, and in a niche, it's a niche branch of a niche technology. And of course, blockchain is getting a lot. I mean, it's blowing up. We all know blockchain is huge. It's a gold rush. There's all these things happening. Tons of people and money flooding into the space. But HBAR is kind of in a little world of its own. We're starting to branch out as we grow, and things stabilize, and there's bridges and things like Hashport coming online, and other ways to interact with other ledgers that are out there. But HBAR is kind of a niche space. So how did you get into this technology in the first place?
So I was into cryptocurrency a while ago. I used to do some marketing for a company called NEM. They have a cryptocurrency called XEM. I worked with them for a while, but then they sold. And I didn't really pay that much attention to crypto after that. I was heavy into stocks, and I was day trading and everything. And I saw, sorry. And then I went to sell some stocks, and I was researching what to buy next. And I somehow came across Hedera and HBAR, and I started reading more about it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So eventually I just sold all my stocks and I went all into HBAR. And when I went all into HBAR, I found the Telegram communities and the community on Twitter. And I said, more people need to know about this. So I just jumped in head first and started trying to help promote Hedera, because I think that's the community's job. A lot of people, complain about Hedera, and they're like, oh, they don't do enough marketing. I think they do a great job at marketing their product. They're not there to market the coin. So I came in and I was like, hey, we're the community. Let's jump at it head first and educate the world about what Hedera is.
Jeremy, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Whoops. Thanks, guys. Yep. Oh yeah, I was taking a drink of water. That's why I muted myself, and then forgot to go on unmute. Anyway, where was I? What were we just talking about?
Hedera, the community.
Yes, the community. Yes, kindred spirit. Right. Yeah. So after I got into the as soon as I kind of went all in too, it was one of those, as far as cryptocurrency, I was dabbling around with some of the other coins. And then when I discovered HBAR, basically everything that I had in crypto all went to HBAR. I'm kind of, I'm kind of one of those all or nothing guys too. In for a penny, in for a pound. When I step up to the plate, I take a big swing, and HBAR was that for me. And yeah, and similar, I also think that they've done a great job of marketing. I mean, there's you hear chatter, but you can't make everybody happy. This world it's difficult to make everybody happy. And sure, there may have been some missteps along the way, but I think by and large, I think it's been a pretty good job. And I agree with you that it is up to the community. It is a crypto. I mean, it's a cryptocurrency, a distributed ledger, right? So it'd be kind of crazy to expect all of that to fall on on one central organization when the whole point is to be moving in the opposite direction and decentralizing it, right? So, and of course, being early adopters, there's opportunities to kind of position yourself in a way that that suits you best. So digging into HBAR.news a little bit. So what was it that gave you the idea to do HBAR.news? How did you find that one first?
So it's a little weird. So when I jumped all into HBAR, I also jumped all into collecting domains related to HBAR. So I have like 58 Hedera and HBAR
Oh my
related
gosh.
related domains, and then
That's
I
more
was
than me.
going-
I do the same thing, but you got more, and you've probably taken some of the ones that I wanted, you turkey.
But yeah, so I was just going through my domains. About a year ago, I had HBAR.news up, but it was really just, I was just posting, I had up like all the different use cases at the time, and the site was really horrible looking. And eventually I just took it down. And then since Leave and Go Mint, I was like, you know what? HBAR.news. I said, there's no better time than now to spread all the news and all the happenings. So I just relaunched it, redesigned it, which it's still gonna even look better than it does now. But yeah, I have a lot of plans for it. And that's how it happened. I just had the domain. So I said, hey, let me make it.
Nice. Yeah, I have way too, Rob and I have joked about this in the past, but GoDaddy and Blue, I mean, the domain services, they've got a good business model. Guys like me that have got, I don't even know. It's funny that you actually, at least you have count. I've lost count of how many domains. I don't think it's quite 58 though. But anyway, it's quite a few, right? And most of them are just sitting there waiting for that good idea or, to come to fruition, waiting for the, I don't know, some magical resources to come my way or, something to happen, but who knows, but it's fun to have them. It's fun to dream. I don't know. I think we're both kind of dreamers in that sense. I'm always thinking of different crazy things you could do with the technology. I mean, Hashgraph is such an amazing technology insight, right? That the world of market insights that can kind of evolve out of the technical insight of Hashgraph. I mean, you can just kind of freewheel for days. So Mark Lombardi, if you don't mind just kind of introducing yourself briefly and saying hello. I know Peter mentioned that there's a podcast or something floating around. I think this is something that I've missed out on, but I'd love to hear a little bit more. If you could just say a bit.
Yeah, so one of those URLs that Peter had bought was the hashgraph.com. So I had Peter and I talked quite a bit. I had kind of helped onboard him onto GoMint, and so I had been thinking about doing some kind of a vlog or podcast, something like that, where it's just an open conversation between, I've had a number of conversations within the community with people that I kind of wish I had recorded. They were fun and had a lot of information in them, and I thought that people would enjoy them. So I approached Peter about it, and he had been thinking about potentially doing a podcast or something like that. So we said, let's do it. Let's just start running these out. So we started a couple of weeks ago, and we've got our next episode that we'll record on Wednesday. And yeah, it's been exciting.
Okay, so have any of the podcasts been released yet, or are these ones that have been recorded and they're waiting to be released?
So oddly enough, we released episode 2 first. Our first recording had bad audio and choppy points and things like that. So I think what we'll do is we'll go back and just release that in bits and pieces, some sound bites and stuff like that don't sound bad. But I'm just getting used to their whole recording thing here.
Sure.
So, yeah,
your first episode has to be episode 0. You have to start with 0.
Well, technically we started with episode 2 then, so we went in the opposite direction. We're against the grain kind of people.
I think that's most of us. I think that's most of us in the call at the moment. We're kind of the against the grain types. And actually, I even said that's actually in the HBAR podcast that we did with Hedera. The Gossip About Gossip podcast that we did. That's kind of the first thing I think that's the first thing that I say in the interview is I have a tendency to go against the grain. So when everybody was looking at the Bitcoin and Ethereums of the world, I started looking at, what is it that enterprises are going to do with the space? I mean, we love the distributed ledger ethos, right? We love, democratizing finance and, putting the power of value establishment and, in the hands of the many. We think that there's a lot of positive things that can come out of that. However, enterprises are going to want to play in the space too, and where the enterprises go, the money tends to follow. So There was a lot of reasons to get into Hashgraph, and really I see it as, I see distributed ledger as a multifaceted thing, right? A diamond, if you would, or some other precious jewel. And there's a lot of different facets, a lot of different ways of looking at it, a lot of different angles and ways of approaching the technology. And Hashgraph, with its corporate governing council, is just taking a slightly different approach that I think is, of course, you can see the hat and the shirt and all that kind of stuff. I think we're in it for we picked our horse in the race, and we're in it for the long haul. So Peter, in looking at the HBAR.news website, the first thing that came to mind was the games. So the two, or at least when I pull up the home screen, the two articles that were on the right, not necessarily the front and center, but the two on the right, the colorful ones that caught my eye were the ones about gaming. So if you would, which games have you? So I saw Slime World was one of them. Was the one that caught my eye the most, and I noticed, and my daughter noticed it too. So they've got a good image there, because my daughter kind of, oh, what is that? She kind of came in to tell me something, and she's peeking over my shoulder wanting to know what Slime World's all about. So kudos to them on that. But yeah, so what do you think about the gaming space in Hedera? Whether you are or not a gamer, there's definitely a lot of chatter about games in crypto space in general. So yeah, so what's crossing your path?
No, I'm excited about games on Hedera. I'm not a huge gamer. I do play games on my phone though. I do mess around with apps, which is why I put the review of Slime World, because it's the first of its kind, I think, on Hedera. You actually play to earn their native token, which is NPT, I believe it's called, not a protocol token, which is on Hedera. So you like this little slime monster, and you kill other slime monsters, and you collect this purple stuff that you trade in for their coin. And so it's pretty cool that you could play the game, earn a token that's based on Hedera. I like that about it. And I think it's the first of many to come. It's just like everything on Hedera. Somebody has to make it before other people are like, oh, wow, that's a good idea, I'll do it. And that seems to be what happens a lot. So I'm excited about that. And then, of course, Ubisoft is a gaming giant, and they just joined the Hedera Council. So that's exciting, especially you hear a lot of people saying then, instead of, like in-game purchases, they're going to have in-game NFTs probably that are based on Hedera. So if the NFT ecosystem right now wasn't already blowing up, I think Ubisoft is definitely going to take it to the next level on Hedera. At least I hope.
Right. Yeah, Ubisoft. I mean, that was a pretty big announcement. So for the folks out there in YouTube land, or any of our guests that may not be familiar with some of the Ubisoft titles, I'm sure most people have probably heard of Ubisoft, but their game titles include Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Prince of Persia, the Tom Clancy series. I mean, it just goes, it's a big developer, right? I mean, the kind of company that's doing deals with Activision Blizzard and getting in class action lawsuits for harassment. And I know there's just like when I started digging into Ubisoft, there's a lot of news, but I think that's the case with all big companies. There's always some, I mean, they're just such huge companies that, you kind of have to anticipate that some things might go awry. But yeah, there's a lot of, more drama in the gaming space than I ever realized. When I started to dig into this, I was like, wow, it's just a lot of crazy news. But yeah, Ubisoft, huge title. And then, so of course there's other ones coming along. So Animoca Brands, right? Animoca Brands is heavily involved in Hedera Hashgraph, and they're huge too. I mean, when I was looking at a report, and they had acquired Sanrio Digital, right? And Sanrio Digital is Hello Kitty, right? So
Wow.
so Animoca Brands, I forget what the dollar amount was. I think it was upwards of 10 million or something. But yeah, they acquired Sanrio Digital. I don't think that means that they acquired all of Sanrio, but they did. But yeah, Sanrio Digital with all the Hello Kitty. There's Hello Kitty games. There's like a TV series. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Animoca Brands also has got Power Rangers assets and Addams Family, and then of course Sandbox. So Sandbox and Sand are also Animoca Brands. So I wonder if there's, I wonder what kind of partnership or kind of cross collaboration opportunities there might be between Sand and Hedera. So I don't know. So Mark, do you know, are you familiar with Sandbox? Other than as a token, I really haven't looked at it a whole lot. I'm interested in really you or anybody out there that's knows a little bit more about it than I do.
I don't know much about Sandbox, but I believe that there's some partnerships between Animoca and the Ubisoft.
Okay.
I believe that one took part ownership of the other. So I know that they have financial interests together. I know that GameStop also has made a deal with Ubisoft. GameStop and Ubisoft do some stuff together as well. So there's the ability for doors to be opened in the future there that I think are even bigger than the ones that have opened already.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty incredible when you look at the when you look at the foundation that's been laid. It's pretty impressive. So Mark, go ahead.
So yeah, I haven't dug into Sandbox, but it's basically an open world creation type thing, right? Where you can kind of go in and build your own world, kind of Minecraft-esque, but with better graphics.
Right.
I think that's like a Decentraland kind of a thing. So those are interesting spaces. I'm very interested in the gaming space. I did get a chance to play that slime game. I think it's neat. I'm not really much of unlike Peter, I'm not much of a phone gamer. I do like playing things like Rocket League and Fortnite and stuff like that. So I'm very interested to see where like an Epic Games starts to come into the fray and do some stuff, because that's like huge hitter stuff, and that's where people are very used to buying in-game items.
Right.
So, and I think that that's where Hedera can provide a huge amount of value, because a lot of these items should be very low cost, a quarter, a nickel, a dollar, stuff like that. And it's very difficult for games to price stuff out right now in low amounts, because, well, the cost for transaction is really high on anything else. Even outside the crypto world, just a credit card transaction, you can't really make a credit card transaction worth under $5 be worth it. So,
yeah, and I haven't, and lately, I mean, of course, there's tons of stuff that's happening on the, on Ethereum and Solana and other chains, but I haven't really heard how they're getting around the crazy gas fees, right? So, I mean, of course, there's layer 2 solutions. I don't know, or if there's anybody that's a little bit more familiar with that world, I'd be interested to know how they plan on overcoming those, if they're going to be able to overcome them at all. Because as it stands, like you said, I mean, the cost of doing transactions on the other chains is so crazy. I don't see how it could possibly scale, but and maybe there's solutions out there that I'm not aware of. But
I think layer 2 is the primary thing that's winning right now in the Ethereum space. I follow, in addition to Hedera as my primary cryptocurrency of choice, but I also follow very closely Immutable X, which isn't related to Immutable Holdings on Hedera, but they're layer 2 for Ethereum. And they've got a bunch of partnerships, and they're part owned by Coinbase, and they were developed by a company or a game called Gods on Chain, which I play, which is very similar to Magic the Gathering. And I was very excited when I heard about it was Silithium was supposed to be a game called Silithium, which was a turn-based card game that was supposed to come to Hedera, but I guess the developers had other stuff that was on their plate, and I don't know if it was really ready to be fully developed out yet at the time. So I hope that they come back into the space, because I'm a buyer. If you're listening, Silithium, I got HBAR ready for a good turn-based card game on Hedera. So
cool. Turn-based card games. Yeah. So Magic the Gathering, that's really the only one that I ever spent any time with, but quite a bit of time. Yeah. It was one of those. I mean, back when, I was a red deck and a black deck guy. Burn decks were my favorite for sure. Burn decks and drain life. But other than that, I mean, of course, Pokemon is absolutely huge. Pokemon Go. I mean, there's a lot of those. Yeah, like you say, I hope that, I imagine that, the platform, the products like Silithium will come back. And, based from the conversations that I've had with a few other of the gaming companies, there was just basically and it's been a little while, but basically they expressed that they'll be back as soon as things stabilize and there's, basically there's a little bit more maturity, a little bit more tooling that needs to come out in the Hedera space. But, so as soon as guys like Rob get all the hard work done, the big guys look
Exactly.
like flooding then. But so Mark, I am curious, how did you get into the space originally? Were you dabbling with other chains and found HBAR, or how'd that go?
So I hadn't yet bought anything yet back in 2017, but that was around the time that I back up. I remember hearing about Bitcoin back in like 2013 or so.
Right.
And I tried to actually set up a mining rig at that point and then realized that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and kick myself now for not going through the process, because I think at that time you still could have mined stuff on your laptop or your desktop and made a pretty penny. But
right.
So I was aware of the space at that time, but didn't know what I was doing and kind of put it on the back shelf. And then around 2017, when stuff started to really pop off again, I got interested. And then after the crash, I immediately said to myself, I need to find an alternative to Ethereum. I could see all the faults with it. So I started doing some research and came across an article about CU Ledger, which was before Hedera was Hedera. The Hashgraph had put together this CU Ledger prototype with credit unions to be able to transfer funds between the credit unions, and that caught my attention. And from there, I went on and just watched all of Lehman's videos and kind of was going on pace as things were getting released. So yeah, I'm kind of OG in the space, following it for quite some time. And yeah,
I've seen your name in Telegram chats and stuff. I mean, I've seen you all over the place.
I'm active in Telegram, and I was I had started to talk with Alex over at GoMint before GoMint was a thing, and we had decided. I had approached him and said, hey, I'm interested in joining one of those hackathon things. You had done it with KPay, and seems like it was a lot of fun. And I had read an article about somebody on Reddit who wasn't a technical person. Like, I'm not a coder or anything like that. So I had read something that said, there's a lot of people that are needed, that are of value, marketing and use case concepts and stuff like that. So I had approached him and said, hey, let's jump into this thing and we'll build something. So that was kind of the start of really getting deep involved in Hedera. And then I brought Peter on and left to kind of pursue some of my own stuff, because I do have another business that I operate outside of the cryptocurrency world that I hope to bring into CryptoFold at some point, but
nice.
It's just not there.
Right. Good. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So of the other projects, what do you think what are some of the other projects that you've really got your eyes on? There's been, it really, Mance was talking about year of scale, and there's a little bit of like maybe a little bit of there was some kind of reaction, some negative reactions to that. Maybe some people didn't get the market action that they were expecting. I don't know. I just kind of saw it as happening, early in the year. I mean, we, of course, everybody's hoping for, the coin that they hold to go to the moon, but, but from being at, 3 cents, at the beginning of the year to, to some of the all-time highs that we had, it's not a bad year. I mean, you look at traditional investments, a 10X and, in a year's period isn't too bad. Of course, since then, since March of last year, it's been kind of a flat line, but, but those things happen too. But I'm just either one of you, what are so I'll ask you first, Mark, since we're with you, but what are some of the projects that are really piquing your interest these days?
I'm excited about Hashport. I'm very interested to see when interoperability is widely accepted, to see how stuff moves around. Are we going to see NFT projects start migrating into Hedera? Are we going to see liquidity on Hedera move over to Ethereum so that people can get into some of those DeFi protocols that are already existing. I just think that the world is going to be a little bit more interesting when that is up and running fully and people are using it. So
Right.
I'm interested in that project. I think that's going to open up a lot of doors.
Yeah. How about on the NFT scene? Are there any particular like use cases or projects or, what are some of the things that, kind of pique your interest in the NFT space?
Yeah, I'll plug some NFTs. I'm very into the NFT space here in Hedera. So,
and I know a lot of people that watch are into it too. So there's a handful of folks that, there's one in here now that I know is very interested. And then there's a handful of others that have asked me, to kind of talk about NFTs and, there's just a lot of hype and buzz. So yeah, always interested to hear what your thoughts are.
I love Hashglass. I think that's a really cool project. I think they're beautiful. I think they're very unique. I haven't really seen anything else out there like it. It's a pretty simplistic idea, but it takes takes a very artistic eye to put together what he's put together. So I think that that's a really cool project. I love pixel rugs. I think that that's a really, really cool project. I love the VR rug to be able to tie your Metaspace together. I'm also I'm a big Lebowski fan as well, so he pulls at my heartstrings there. And then the other one that pulls at my heartstrings is In a Maze. So he's hand drawing mazes with different, a Hedera logo in it, or he's In a Maze is a fish reference, the band Fish. I'm a huge fish head, right? And he's never a big fish head as well. Yeah, never get out of his maze. So that's that's what that is. So I'm very fond of that project as well. Cool. So I'm hoping, and that's again another really unique thing where he's hand drawing stuff, then taking a scan of it, and then redrawing it digitally. It's a pretty cool project. I like it. I like interesting stuff like that. Where they're taking the space into a new direction. And then, hold on. And then this guy right here, a friend of mine, Scribbly Dimples, will be releasing his NFT very soon. I'm going to be releasing it through Depub. So keep a lookout for that. It's going to be called Zoo Couture. And we're going to do a drop of 50 at a time. So we'll have 50 all unique. The tigers will be the first line, but he's got like a whole slew of different animals that he wants to unleash onto the world. So I'm excited about that too.
Oh, that's fun. Awesome. How about you, Peter? What are some of the ones that are really piquing your interest these days?
So I'm not a huge NFT collector. I do have NFTs, but there's
you have the me NFT. You've got your own Peter Uliano. It's like and it was fan made. You didn't make it yourself, so you ascended the mountain and you're already there. You can be done. You've got your collection of one.
There's one I really like. I just recently bought one from this artist. She calls herself Yuki Doodle. It's just like these Japanese style on like parchment paper. They're pretty cool. I have one of those. I have a few that the community gave me. I'm actually working on an NFT project with my partner, Mark Williams. He goes by Jacob, though. Mark Jacob Williams. Him and Baptiste from Exact Wallet. We're gonna be launching a series called Wafu. And what they are, it's this anime style. It's going to be a card game, and there's going to be lots of NFTs. There's a whole bunch of them, and it's going to be wafu.co. It's not up yet, though. I would tell people to go check it out, but we didn't put it up yet. We didn't put anything up yet, but there is a Twitter for it, Wafu token, but it's launching on Hedera, and that should be this year. That's coming out. But
nice. How do you spell that?
Wafu, WAFU.
Okay, WAFU. That's what I wrote down. I wrote down Wafu, and I'm looking at it going, well, a couple different ways.
It's a play on words in anime, or I'm gonna get this wrong, and Jacob's gonna get mad at me. But in anime, there's a particular style called waifu.
Okay.
And that's basically what Wafu is a play on. If you ask me to describe a waifu for you, I can't do it.
I won't. I promise.
but yeah, so we have that NFT project coming out on HBAR.news. Actually, I'm about to launch some physical NFTs. I'm teaming up with somebody, and I actually got a bunch of like supplies right here. They're going to have like NFC chips on them that you scan, and it brings you to the NFT. But I'll figure out all those details on Friday. But it should be a pretty cool project that I think people are going to like.
Nice. So a card game. So is this similar to in the vein of Magic the Gathering, kind of the turn-based card game, or can we say is there any? I don't, if there's anything more you can say about it.
I see. My problem is I never played any of these games, so I'm not even familiar with Magic the Gathering.
Fair
so
enough.
I can't even like say if it's similar because I wouldn't know.
Fair enough.
And I hate to say that, but
no problem. No problem. How about you, Mark? Are you is this news to you? Have you been dialed into the Wafu game?
Yeah, we had talked about Wafu on our. Did we talk about it on the second episode or just on the first one? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Yeah,
we have talked about
definitely
it
on
a few times.
It was definitely on the first episode because I was just getting to know Jacob for the first time. I didn't realize his first name was Mark too. That's a surprise me.
So turn-based card game though?
I don't think they're doing a turn-based card game.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember exactly how Jacob was explaining it, but I don't think it was quite that.
Right.
There's actually a press release, a little thing that Jacob wrote up that's on HBAR.news. Just to let you know, I don't know if there's not much information there. I'm trying to find it right now, but because we can't really say much right now. But
no, that's fine. So I am curious about the NFC tags. How are you getting the NFC tags? That's something that I've looked. I did a little bit of digging, but not a whole lot. But it's something that I'm interested in. We at the HBAR holidays.
A whole bunch.
Nice. So at the HBAR holidays party, we mentioned an HBAR Foundry project that we're working on. And we want to attach, essentially I've got some art that was commissioned and I want to get these, the wet tags, I believe they're called. I would like to get some NFC tags for these, for those out there that aren't familiar with NFC, the near field communication tags. Did you get those from Infinity Suku?
I did not actually, these I actually ordered, I believe from China, but, okay. There is a guy. I don't know if have you heard of Held NFTs?
No, I have not.
So there's a company called Held NFTs, and it's run by Jordan, not Jordan Fry. This is Jordan Kuhn. But his company is essentially doing that. He's buying real art, NFC tagging them, and selling them as digital fidgetal items.
Right. Yeah. A little shout out to Del Iglesia. I don't know if Del is the one that coined that term in the beginning, but I definitely, until I'm corrected, Del, if you're there at the computer, you can come off mute. Is that an original term, Del? Because everybody loves it.
No, not really. I've also saw it before. Okay. Actually I saw it in one of the Philippine banks started using it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but I thought of what do you call this? Coined it more into the metaverse, going into the metaverse, because I saw that now it's becoming like a video. But how do you reference to those objects that you see, right? So there's still, you have this experiential browsing of the metaverse, but the problem is, how do you engage into those objects that you see? So that is what I saw, that the opportunity. And I myself also, thanks to Peter and Jeremy, I'm also a domainer by heart. So I saw the value. You're 58. Oh boy, you're lucky. I own 1,000 at one point.
Holy cow.
So, well,
that's a lot of domains.
Yeah, there's a lot of domains. I buy and sell. And through those, again, I started way back Web 1. When I originally saw it and understood that domains are real estate in the digital space. But But again, and they're trying to understand what they're trying to do, right? I mean, how they create all this, from the GeoCities, how they create the contents and all the stuff. I'm much older than you guys, so I've seen Web 1 on how it was built. And then when I saw what's happening in Web3, I said, oh my gosh, they're doing it again. But again, the right way, which is when I understood also Hedera, I got stumbled on it and I said, wow, this is now really what Liman actually it said is building the trust on the web. And now, and putting it back, data ownership goes back to the people who really owns it, whether you're a user or you're a creator. Then there's that platform. And then, on the end, how does this all come into play? And that's when Metaverse is coming out. And I said, wow. And if you think it, my inspiration is the first someone from London, I believe. I don't know if anyone remembers. It's the $1 Million homepage, right? The $1 Million homepage, and he sold only.
Yes, right. With the little tiny pieces. Okay.
Yes,
right.
he sold $1 per pixel, and he's taking his master's degree at that. College degree. And he sold 1 million, so it became $1 million homepage. And I said, wow, that is pretty cool. So that's when I said, we're reliving it again into the metaverse, but with objects and moving with it and experiential browsing. So I said, oh, wow, this is exactly what it is now. So that's when I said, oh, physical. There should be now linking physical to the digital objects that we see in these games, because that is where the engagement and also the further engagement actually is what we need, because otherwise you cannot just play the game. I mean, you have to have a better experience to engage with the things that you see on the games, whether it be an advertising. It's not there. Again, I'm also respect into the user behavior, but at least just like in real life, going through a highway, you see these billboards, right? So in a game, there could be just billboards, and then you ignore it. If you don't like it, then you ignore it, right? But at least there's that opportunity for, again, businesses to thrive and create that engagement that we all need. Because otherwise, without engagement, then it's one way, right? The economics of the whole ecosystem is flat.
Yeah, so I want to jump a little bit into the metaverse thing real quick. I've got to jump off here in just a minute. Unfortunately, no, I'm gonna have to wrap it up in here in just a minute. But before I ask Peter and Mark for any kind of final thoughts, I did want to touch on metaverse real quick, just because I got to commend Peter for being bold and writing the piece that he wrote. I'm assuming that you wrote that piece on metaverse, right? The one that's on HBAR.news.
Which one is that?
Oh, I don't have it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, is this is it a good thing or something like that?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, so I love it that you have the bravery to go there, right? That speaks volumes about your character to me, because metaverse being the buzz that it is. But Rob and I have had, I think, probably some similar conversations in the vein, basically the kind of line of thought that the article follows. So just real quick in the 30-second version, what do you think about metaverse without putting yourself on the firing line for the next decade to come? What's your take on metaverse? Because I think it's an interesting one, and I think we agree largely.
I think right now there's a lot of buzzwords floating around in the crypto space, and I think those are metaverse and DAOs. But metaverse to me is, and I had this conversation with Mark Lombardi as well. To me, I don't know why everybody's hyping up something so much that's just gonna take you more away from social situations and stuff of that nature. It's like, hey, they like psychologists tell you to put down your phone, take time to unplug, and now everybody's screaming, hey, we want you plugged in 24/7, throw on your virtual headset and just sit there and rot away. And I don't know, to me, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But with everything, we're humans, and in America, where I am specifically, I think people have a problem with moderation. So I don't think,
yes,
I don't think it's gonna, I think there's going to be a lot of problems at first.
Right. Yeah,
I agree with a lot of what you actually have to say, because what I've noticed is the metaverse is becoming more of a fad, obviously, as all these things are coming along, but it's the way I'm looking at it is it's more like our digital representation. And that's what people are buying into. It doesn't need to be something we jump into and we're immersed and it's VR and it's what Facebook plans to do with Oculus. I think it's more just our digital representation. And we spend so much money and effort trying to keep up this physical one. People are trying to buy NFTs and buy Nike shoes NFTs and create this digital avatar to go around. And something that's why even the NFT project I'm working on called Planetlies, we plan to have actual components associated with. We want to make it like an environmentally conscious NFT marketplace. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Metaverse is going to be interesting, but it all started ever since Facebook just renamed themselves, and everyone's like, well, Meta's very fascinating. Like, what's happening there? So
yeah, I was at a soccer game, and a kid's soccer game, and one of the parents that knows that I'm in cryptocurrency came up to me, "What's up with this metaverse thing?" Right? I mean, this is somebody that absolutely knows zilch about crypto. I mean, maybe a little bit about gaming, but probably not. But yeah, I mean, just out of the blue, like, hey, you're into cryptocurrency. What's up with this meta? I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But yeah, no, big news. Have you seen there's a couple of funny things going. I'll just throw this out there, and then I'll let you. There's a funny thing floating, or a funny meme, I guess you'd call it, floating around about metaverse. It's like what they want you to think the metaverse is, and it's this dapper looking kid, he's got the like light glowing behind him and this hot chick on his side, and then it's like what the metaverse really is, and it's some kid, in a dark corner of a room with his headset on it. He's got a mattress on the floor. It looks like some dystopian society thing. So I kind of chuckle when I hear about all the hype that's around metaverses right now. So I am going to have to take off here, but Peter, Mark, I just wanted to throw it out to you, Peter, first. If there's any kind of final words or anything you want people to kind of keep an eye out on, obviously HBAR.news, but if there's any kind of final words. You said you might have an announcement of
I actually, I'm going to release an interview tonight that I did with Max Walker Williams.
Nice.
That should be up on HBAR.news tonight. Also, Jordan Fried agreed to do an interview on Twitter. So I emailed him the questions already, just waiting for his response. And also, just if there's anybody out there that has a press release or anything they want to send for HBAR News, they can email info@HBAR.news. Or if you're even interested in advertising anything, just shoot me an email and we could set something up.
Awesome. How about you, Mark? Any kind of final parting words?
Check out Hashgraph Chat. And we're on YouTube. It'll be a new episode every, I think the episodes will probably come out on either Thursdays or Fridays, but we're going to record them on Wednesdays. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay,
really
good deal.
much
Hashgraph Chat.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, keep me in mind too. When you've got a space to fill, keep me in mind, and we'll jump on and we'll do a Hashgraph Chat. It'll be fun.
Cool.
Guys, thanks, Jeremy, for distracting them while I went and registered hbarfly.com.
HBAR Nice.
It's
so
somebody who spends too much time on HBAR.
Oh, okay. I thought see, Rob's a guitar player as well, and he plays a lot of venues. Last couple things I've seen him, last couple videos recorded I've seen were of him playing at bars. So I thought maybe it was a shout out to the Barflies, but.
Well, a barfly is somebody who spends too much time at a bar, but an HBAR is somebody who spends too much time researching HBARs.
Gotcha. Nice. So yeah, so add that domain to the pile. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks a lot for joining me, Peter. Really appreciate it. You too, Mark,
thank you for having me.
Del, all you guys, Thomas, Shambusha, Jason. Appreciate everybody joining me here. And quick shout out again to Creative Coast. Thanks to Creative Coast for hosting this. They, create, code, and collide. That's their motto here in the Savannah, Georgia, coastal area of Georgia. So really a lot of appreciation to Jen Bonet and Caitlin Lance over at Creative Coast. My business partner, Rob Keynes, Peter Uliano, Mark Lombardi. Thanks again for joining us. And we'll be back here first Monday of March. And who knows, maybe you may be hearing from me on the Hashgraph Chat before then. But at the very least, we'll see you folks again the first Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern of March is the next month down the line. So we'll see you folks then. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.